Hey, my name is Nathaniel Rose, and this is my final for Assemblies of God, History, Missions, and Governance. Before I begin, I want to tell a little bit about myself. For about the past year, I've been on staff at a church in Chattanooga called C4 Church. And so, as I went through this course, a lot of the things that I will be talking about, I got to walk out and live in. And so, this made this course just that much sweeter for me. And so, there were 3 sections from this course that I really want to hone in on, and these are sections 4, 5, and 7. So section 4 covers AG Missions Part 1, and we're going to go into the importance of missions and how the Assemblies of God views the Great Commission. Section 5 covers AG Missions Part 2, and I'm going to specifically focus in on Speed to Light as well as Chi Alpha. And finally, Section 7 covers AG church structure, and I'm going to discuss the general structure of the AG as well as how my church fits into it. And so without further ado, we're just going to jump straight into it. So starting off in Section 4, we get into AG Missions Part 1. And so the Great Commission is in Matthew 28:19, and it says, "Go therefore, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit." And so this commission is for each and every single one of us as believers. And so the Assemblies of God has their own way of doing it, different from maybe other denominations. And I have had the ability to meet and get to know one of the Assemblies of God missionaries named Matthew Richardson. His mission field is in Ecuador. And so we've spent a lot of time talking about how the AG does it. And so he began talking to me about how they go into areas, obviously, that does not have a church, and they begin to establish a church. But it's not only the aspect of just starting a church, it's also creating it to be self-sufficient. Because the Assemblies of God believe, what better missionary is one of your own people than a foreigner? If we're able to go into an area, train them up, and then send them out, how much more effective can they be? But there's also the missions aspect here in America. And one of the biggest things in the AG is planting a healthy church in every community. And not every church is for every person. My pastor always says, if this isn't your fit, I will help you find one. But it doesn't have to be your fit. That's why it isn't a bad thing to have multiple churches in multiple areas, one here, one down the street. We have that opportunity. If the culture of this church isn't what we like, there are other options. And so missions is such a huge part in the lives of us believers, whether globally or here in America. And so it's important that we raise the next generation with a focus for missions, because as the Great Commission, we were all called to spread the gospel to the ends of the world. Secondly, I want to get into Section 5, AG Missions Part 2. And the 2 organizations that I want to specifically focus in on are Speed to Light and Chi Alpha. And so Speed to Light is a youth-funded organization in which students across America raise money in their local church to support missions globally and here in America. And so I think it's such an important organization because it teaches students, even from a young age, the importance of giving, the importance of missions. And now, instead of leaving all the giving into the hands of the adults, it puts it into their hands, and it's their responsibility now. And so our church is heavily committed to teaching this to our students, constantly pushing them, constantly seeing how much money can they raise for Speed to Light, whether it be $1,000 for the 1K Society or even just a couple $100. Just being able to teach them, to show them how to do it, so that when they grow up, they can do even more. And there's also the aspect of Chi Alpha. Chi Alpha is a college campus ministry. And it's such an important thing because a lot of students, once they leave high school, once they leave away from their parents, they walk away from the Lord. But having an organization in college campuses, being there ready and waiting to get people to stay on fire for the Lord, to teach them how to live the day in and day out with God. And we constantly have Chi Alpha missionaries coming in and outside of our church, being close to UTC's campus. And so it's just a great blessing to be able to see not only the fruits of their ministry, but also being able to meet the missionaries themselves and seeing how they do their job. And so these 2 organizations are incredibly important for the next generation. And it has been an absolute blessing to see not only the fruit of it, but the people behind the scenes. Finally, I'm going to cover Section 7, which is about AG church structure. And so I'm going to generally talk about how the state of Tennessee is laid out, as well as where my church fits into it. To preface all this, no person in any of these positions have any power over the next person, but rather each person has been voted in on and are trusted to lead this state in the right direction. So we start at the very top with our district superintendent, Pastor Terry Bailey. He is the one in charge of overseeing the state of Tennessee and the man that we trust to lead us in the right direction. Beneath him are 3 presbyters for each zone: Middle Tennessee, East Tennessee, and West Tennessee. In each zone are several sections, and they have their own individual presbyters. And that's where my pastor comes in. My pastor is the presbyter for the Chattanooga zone. And so any AG church in this section is under the watch of my pastor. And not that my pastor has any power to tell them what to do, but rather if there's any issues or any problems that need to be resolved, they go to him for his help. And so this structure is created so that no one person has to deal with like the whole state of Tennessee. Each presbyter has their section. Then there's the higher presbyters, which have their zones. And then finally you have Terry Bailey. And so going through these 3 sections, I realized how important it is, not only missions, raising up the next generation right, but also having structure in everything that we do. Because without structure, we will surely fall.